So now that we have seen what exactly we're getting ourselves into, which is far beyond what we had envisioned, let's go ahead and speak with Y'shtola, who will have the next main story quest. Let's speak with her to take on the next epilogue main story quest entitled A Brother's Grief. Y'shtola is appraising the Void Gate with a scholarly eye. As well she should. As we all just look at this thing.
I must admit, I am deathly curious to know how a Void Gate came to be hidden in the depths of these ruins.
I think we all are. Yeah, care to explain there, Vitra?
To tell that tale, we must first peer far to the south, and even further into memory. An age 5 millennia passed when the Algan Empire sent an invading force to the shores of Mericidia. The southern people rallied around the commanding figures of Bahamut and Tiamat and fought fiercely to repel the would-be conquerors.
Yikes. Scared of dragons too, huh?
With Bahamut's defeat, however, the tide turned against them. Desperate to seize any advantage, the Mercidians resorted to summoning primal entities.
Thus the creation of the Warring Triad.
In response, Emperor Zande forged a covenant with the Cloud of Darkness, sovereign among the all-devouring denizens of the Void. Thus bolstered by icons on one side and Voidsent on the other, the two armies clashed in a battle of unspeakable carnage. So much death, so much loss.
I consider myself well versed in that period of history, yet you speak as one who witnessed it happen.
Well, he is a dragon after all.
Indeed, I did. I heard Tiamat's roar of defiance and sped toward that war-torn land. Along with my sibling, Ashdaya.
Yeah, we've heard of Asdaya.
We dragons are not male or female as men are wont to classify, but elder sister is the closest a mortal tongue can come to describing what she meant to me. I was the last of our brood to hatch, and Ashdaya cared for me where my sire could not. Thus I was with her when Tiamat roared. I was with her when she journeyed south, and I was with her when she fought against the Void-sent hordes.
You've definitely been through a lot.
Yet no matter how many of their vile fiends we cast down, more rose from the abyss to take their place. Faced with an unwinnable war of attrition, Ashdaya risked her all on a final gamble.
And what was that?
She plunged through the Void Gate itself to strike at the root of their strength.
Alone?
I tried to follow in her wake, determined to lend what aid I could. But even as I came upon Alag's glittering tower, I saw the rift close behind her. And Ashdaya has been lost to us ever since.
Ouch.
I find I must retract my earlier claim of historical knowledge. Nowhere in the Crystal Tower's archives did I see mention of such noble sacrifice.
That does not surprise me. To Allagan eyes, it must have seemed as if a lone dragon, driven to madness, simply dove through the gate and did not return.
Understandable.
For my part, I spent long years searching for the means to reunite with Ashdaya. Until I could search no more. Until Alag was dust, and the art to open a void gate large enough to accommodate a dragon forever lost.
Yet you have the beginnings of a gate right here. under the control of a harnessed device.
Can you use it, though?
My discovery came before Radzatan was founded. Though I scoured the lands for a method to cross the rift, it was beneath the sea that I chanced to find a natural planar fissure. It was, however, far too narrow to admit a worm's bulk. Only after our city rose upon the rock, and I could enlist the aid of our talented alchemists, did matters take a favorable turn. Their dedication was beyond reproach. Tirelessly they worked to expand the fissure, and after decades of toil, it finally grew to a size that a child might pass through.
And thus, this is where Varshan came in.
Not long ago, you told us that you called out to your kin, that Ashdaya's answer was silence. I suspect the conclusion to your tale is not a joyful one.
Clearly not.
With hope in my heart, I used the simulacrum to cross the threshold. But no, I did not find her. What I found was a host of void scent, clamoring around the opening they had sensed.
Yeah, they were not gonna hesitate to jump
It was
out.
but a moment, but enough. I had no choice but to retreat and allow the portal to contract once more.
The gate was a threat to your people. You had to decide between endangering Razathan and abandoning your sister. You chose the latter.
'Twas not that thy siblings scorned thy call. 'Twas that she was trapped beyond a barrier through which neither roar nor dragon may pass. Even now, in the desolate world of the 13th.
I can scarce imagine your pain, yet it was wise not to linger in that place. Too long a sojourn, and even a being of your power risks being warped into a creature of the void. You've seen this phenomenon before, when we stepped into the darkness.
I thought our time had come, or I remember when Edie told me about how Nero turned purple.
Turned purple? Well, yes. His wounds had allowed the void's corruption to enter his body and twist his ether. Had it been allowed to progress much longer, I presume he would have been fully transformed.
Oh, no doubt.
Then there is little hope for Ashdaya.
Ah, no. I hadn't meant to. I speak only of possibilities. The scales of the first brood are extraordinarily resistant to ethereal fluctuations. They are the protective talisman's core components after all, and even the corruption I described would struggle to overcome. Of course. With the warding scale in one's possession, one could conceivably survive a stay in the 13th without being warped by its energies.
Well, let's hope you're right about that.
Be that as it may, it is too late to rescue my sister. 5,000 years too late. And now countless others look to me for guidance and protection.
Yeah, the weight of the world is on your shoulders. So now what?
When I sensed intruders in the ruins, I came only to ensure that the gate remained closed. That, and to secure the treasure, of course.
So yeah, I guess you're gonna do your thing where you're gonna...
I wish only to forget the rest.
Yeah, if you need to, yeah, he's gonna close the lid again. Ishtola does not seem to be happy with this. And the quest is now officially accepted. Right, Stola. So they managed not only to expand the fissure, but also manipulate it as one might a gate. Astounding. Is there any chance I can learn more of how this deed was accomplished? I will tell you what I can. First, however, I must return to the High Crucible and arrange to replace the Guardians you so handily destroyed. It will not do to leave the gate undefended. My apologies. We are perhaps a touch zealous in our rush to uncover the vault's secrets. If the constructs can be repaired, we will be happy to offer assistance. That will not be necessary. Much as I retain spare parts for vessels for myself, we keep duplicate Guardians on hand for such eventualities. In any case, we should return to Razatan. And so we shall. Yeah, as fun as it's been to be in here, we gotta head on back, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's work back over to Razatan then. And somewhere around here, we'll find... yeah, Varshan is in here somewhere. I promise we will discuss the Void Gate further, but first I must attend to the matter of the Vault Sentinels. As your instruments have no doubt informed you, the Kapakuru has been reduced to so much scrap. Please bring a new one out of storage and see that it is conveyed to its post along with some few lesser constructs. Was it 2 Moebas? Friends born from the Tower of Zos? Other sisters, do not tell me you blast me at your room's free. I'm like, oh. Yeah, I'm like, what could it possibly be? And we'll all have awkward looks on our faces like, do we really want to tell this guy? It's like, yeah, awkward. We're each looking at each other like, how do we answer this? But I think it's kind of obvious, isn't it? Why such guilty faces? Surely is it you who are responsible for this? Oh. Sorry. Well, the details aren't important. I shall see it done immediately. Yeah, please. Do it as quick as you can. We didn't know, man! And with that, the vault will soon be secure once more. Now, I believe you had questions. Quite a few, in fact, but I'd like to begin with the gate itself. It is still functional, yes? Indeed, which is why I saw it sealed with an alchemical forged lock and warded it with my magics. Such power must not fall into the wrong hands. In truth, the primary reason for the vault's construction was to keep the gate hidden from the outside world. So much effort for such a little door. That little door you speak of leads to an abyss teeming with unspeakable horrors. That said, in its current state it would only emit only the lowliest of void scents, and from this side no man would be able to pass through. No man. I should think Alphanel would fit, given a firm enough push. Physical size is only one consideration. The true restriction hinges upon the etheric density of the soul in transit. And yet you succeeded in expanding this diminutive portal and sending your similar clone to the 13th. Thanks to my brilliant alchemists, I should have destroyed the anomaly when I found it, but instead I bade them devise a means to control it. After much experimentation, they accomplished the impossible. A method was conceived by which my magics could manipulate the fissure and transform it into a serviceable gate. But the process has long been since forgotten. Once I had given up searching for Asdaya, there was no need to preserve such esoteric and dangerous knowledge. Thus has the gate lain dormant for years uncounted. Our own passage to the 13th was made relatively simple thanks to the Crystal Tower. An ancient mechanism channeled the tower's vast stores of energy to open a void gate, one bound to a covenant made with the Cloud of Darkness. Once that sovereign entity was beaten back, however, the covenant was broken and the doorway severed from its connection to the void. Theoretically, it should be possible to reconnect the gate by forging a new pact with another Void Saint, but such deals usually end in betrayal and death. In any case, we should attempt to gain an understanding of the Bounty Gate. Mayhap you could resume the search for your sister. As I've already explained, I put those futile hopes to rest centuries ago. My place and my duty is here now. I had meant to ask, what prompted you to search for the Vault in the first place? Oh. It was Stannian's idea. No, we wanted to see if the legends were true. As you have seen, this fabulous wealth from the stories is quite real, if not its rumored origin, but I'm afraid I must assert a prior claim. I'm sure you do. I've been adding to that trove for years, little by little, but the time has come to spend it, that I might alleviate my people's suffering. Then we are of one mind. We had no intention of taking it for ourselves. Exactly. Isn't that right, my friend? Yeah, we had intended to see if we could use it for a positive method. Meanwhile, Stola, bumping her fist on her face. Your Excellency, would you object if I were to conduct a closer examination of the gates? I will make no attempt to open it, of course. I owe you and yours a debt that can never be repaid. Whatever boon you ask of me, you shall have it. You are most gracious. I shall take full advantage of your permission. Would that I could join thee in thy study, but the Loprits will be anxious to receive my reports. I beg my leave of you. Yeah, I guess he's outlived his usefulness for this patch. And I must be off to Charlene as well. Yeah, you're in the same boat. Mrs. Krall was eager to speak with you about that request, so please come back to the Annex as soon as you're able. Farewell for now. And so away they go. In the meantime, we can discuss my findings once I return. You'll not be rid of me so easily. Okay. So yeah, Shola will be sticking with us a little while. And you may now undertake the Chronicles of a New Era quest series, Myths of the Realm. Speak with a fresh-faced student at the Baldessian Annex to accept the first quest. So they're referring to the new 24-player raid. So that's kind of what Krall was hinting at earlier on. In the meantime, we'll go ahead and speak with Varshan again, complete the quest. The difficult part in all this will be deciding how best to put these riches to use. Will you lend me your assistance in these deliberations? Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, anything to make up for the constructs we broke. Then think of your employment as recompense. Serve me as guest advisors and I will consider the broken constructs paid for in full. Rika and I are in this together. I will follow her example. So in the meantime, we'll take our 1087 gil for completing this quest. Yeah, it kind of puts everything into perspective, doesn't it? Meanwhile, elsewhere... Yeah, there is an elsewhere. Remember the place we saw early on in our stream here this evening? Well, there's also this place. Almost looks like a giant bird. Like the Nazca ship from Shining Force 2. But this obviously is not being used for good and noble purposes. And someone else is doing a fancy introduction. And has stuff to light up. Yeah, a whole bunch of sentient objects here that are being awakened from their slumber, it seems. Yeah, who are we dealing with exactly? You know, it almost looks like a redux of X-Death from Final Fantasy V. So he's gonna take a seat. assess the things that are here. I sensed the breaching of a gate, but it was not instigated from this side. 'Twas thrown open from the other. I too felt it. A rare occurrence, yes, but such a tiny portal is beneath our notice. There are more pressing matters at hand. An opportunity is upon us, the coming of which we have awaited for nigh on 10,000 years. We dare not let it slip our grasp. As we look around, yet we must not underestimate she who bested the cloud of darkness. Even restrained by a covenant, the cloud was no feeble wisp to be dispersed by some flesh and blood morsel. Ah, let her come. I will drown the world and watch this fleshling gasp for breath in her final moments. Your zeal is admirable, but forget not our cause. Think back on our struggles beneath the sunless sky. Remember why we cede not our will to fight. As this knight in black with eyes that we can barely see through the helmet. This time, we set the war in motion and win redemption for our star. And auto fade out. But at least we know who we'll be up against at some point. But in the meantime, let's go ahead and continue with the main story by speaking with Varshan to take on our next quest entitled Sharing the Wealth. Varshan wishes to discuss the distribution of the treasure. Shall we begin? If we are to spend the treasure wisely, then we must first determine which groups will benefit most from monetary assistance. Some of my citizens may find it intimidating to speak with the satrap directly, so I would ask that you act in my stead. Okay. Rika, you are to visit Akyali and Liedlamad. Speak with Matsya and his people and listen to their grievances. Estenian, I bid you do the same at Palaka's stand. I will be conducting my own inquiries at the Giant's God grounds. Once you believe you have ascertained the needs of the populace, we can reconvene at Megaduta. Alright, we can do that. So, Akyali it is. So, we gotta go back to Thavnir and back to Yedlamad. Actually, just take the teleport offer I was given. Alright, we made it back to Akyali. Let's go ahead and speak with Matsya. Oh, Rika, I was so glad to see you returned unarmed. You finished with the boat then? Yeah, we did. So, we can tell you about what happened. Anything the village desperately needs? Well, I suppose Kalzal's loss hit us the hardest. I've been trying to find buyers for my fish, but although I sell a few here and there, it's so much more difficult than it was before. Everyone's still struggling to rebuild their lives. For now, we're just banding together as best we can. So, now that we've learned about that, let's go back over to Yedlamad to speak with people. So as we arrive over here, we'll start by speaking with the Junkmonger. Greetings and welcome, traveler. If this is your first visit to Thavnir, then you must try my special Amra Lassi. Its refreshing zest cannot be beat. Well, actually, I have been here before. What could a wonder cost you, wonder? Normally, I bought with 3 bottles of generous price of 19,800 gil. But for you, I'm willing to go as low as even 10,000. You better be practically stealing from me. But yeah, we know who you are. At that price, you're the only thief around here, or still not turning a profit these days, or just say I'm not a Stenian, which is to say I'm not stupid. Times are harsh, my friend. The world may no longer be on fire, but we are still sifting through the ashes, so to speak. Sisters spell we might as well have that ugly tower back for the scant few travelers we see these days. I barely myself had the coin to buy at local prices. I tell you, if I didn't charge the odd adventurer a small fortune for afternoon tea, I'd be scavenging for scraps in the street. I imagine you would be. So let's go on over to this side. Find this guild staff member, who doesn't seem to be having it all that good herself. How fares the port? Well, it's in shambles, isn't it? The trade routes are open once more now the danger is past, certainly. But no small number of merchants have had to sell their ships to make ends meet in the short term. Add to that the sailors we lost in the final days, and it's little wonder the flow of exports is no more than a pitiful trickle. If Colsall and his consortium were still with us, I'm sure they'd have found a way to turn our fortunes around. Now that was a man who got things done, God rest his soul. He has spoken with key local figures and gained an understanding of the populace hardships. Varshan awaits your report at Megaduta. Alright then, let's make our way back to Razat Han to get to Megaduta. Let's find Varshan in here. Ah, my advisor's return. I've just made it back myself. Why do you retain this vessel now that your true form is known? You could have flown across the island in a fraction of the time. Be that as it may, the sight of a massive creature descending from the sky can be startling to say the least. And there are few places I can enter comfortably without risk of flattening some cart or stall. I suppose. Yeah, ever the cautious one. Fair enough. As for my inquiries, the people of Palakistan were unanimous in their reply. They are surviving. Resources were stretched to the limit when refugees were pouring in, but they persevered with some assistance from Yedlamad. From what I understand, they've always been an independent community, hunters and foragers and the like, and I was assured that the jungle provides for their needs, for the most part. Palakistan has weathered the disaster better than most, it seems. I myself have heard good news and bad. The quarrymen were cautiously optimistic, having just sold a full wagon of giant's gold to a foreign trader. But such visitors are few and far between. Compared to our best years, the weight of stone leaving Thavner has been light indeed. Our nation is small and isolated, its prosperity dependent on a steady stream of exports. We must identify any obstacles to the flow of trade, so we may begin working to remove them. Tell me, what did you learn in Akyali and Yedlamad? Well, here's what we found out about. I see. Without a dedicated buyer, the average fisherman must struggle to offload his daily catch. Which is why I believe we should first address the lack of ships and shortage of able-bodied sailors in Yedlamad. Yes, that's a good idea. I am reminded of a child I spied as I made my way back to the palace. His father lost at sea when the beads sunk their vessel. So many variations of the same tragic tale repeated over and over. So many lives lost. And that's never good. Yeah, we got a flashback. And remember this little guy. Enough grief to drown in it if we let ourselves be overcome, but we will not. Rika, Estinian, I will consider the perspectives you've brought me and devise a plan to help my people confront this adversity. Come, I would like you to be in attendance when I announce the proposal to my assembled functionaries. Alright. So let's go and see who he wants to speak to. So yeah, we'll speak with Vitra directly. And members of the Radiant Host, and some other people here as well.
I thank you for your attendance. coast have retrieved or hoarded in Al-Zadar's name. A fortune I set aside for a future day of need. And lo, that day hath come. May it aid our wounded city in reclaiming its vibrancy and vigor. In better times, I would leave such a task to our capable Ahawan. God's rest his soul.
Do you have anyone in mind to take his place?
Finding myself bereft of his counsel in the here and now, I will assume the responsibilities of mine office directly.
Well, that's definitely a change of heart for sure for you, Vitra.
Firstly, the treasure shall be sold for more convenient currency. Thence, invested into the trading port of Yedlamad. Our merchants must have their operations restored, their ships rebuilt. Commerce must flow once more. None were spared the tragedy of the final days. Of this, I am well aware.
Yes, indeed.
But an absence was created by the loss of Karazal's consortium. And by filling it, we provide new means for our fishermen, our artisans, and others to bring their wares to distant markets.
Yeah, the Radiant Host stands with you.
And what of the children who were left without family to care for them?
That is a concern which weigheth heavily upon my mind. A simple gift of coin will soon be exhausted, leaving these young souls adrift on the fringes of our society.
Yeah, not only that, they might be too tempted to spend it all on candy.
Nay, a proper solution is needed, one which doth guarantee their welfare for years to come. Thou hast surely seen how other nations rise to meet this challenge, adventurer. What dost thou deem the wisest course?
Gonna drop this on me, huh? What will I think of? Well, depending on how much of the side content you covered, you have the ability to get as many as 4 options. Obviously, there are the 2 that will be by default, but then if you did custom deliveries for crafting and gathering to certain NPCs, the latter 2 options are available. So, Idleshire's orphanage was funded through trade in highly coated goods, while the Firmament's orphanage was built as part of a communal restoration effort. Yeah, I can't help but feel like Razad Han is in the same boat. So let me explain it to you there, Vitra.
Of course, the revival of trade can contribute to the building of a new institution. Let us put this idea into practice. A contract shall be written, requiring all who receive of Al-Zadar's treasure to commit a portion of their future earnings towards the running of an orphanage. Now, such an influential policy is deserving of a worthy name.
You're gonna put this on me too? Yeah, of course they go with a blatant something with Khalzal seems appropriate. Or why not honor one of your most successful merchants? Yeah, sometimes I feel like they just make this too obvious. They don't give you a more interesting answer.
Merchant. I believe I see thy reasoning.
Yeah, I feel like it's better when the NPCs figure it out for themselves.
Kalzal should be remembered, not as the blasphemy which terrorized Daphne, but as a hard-working and generous man who brought much wealth to our shores. Do any among you object to this proposition? Many here lost loved ones to the beasts.
In that time of strife, any one of us could have broken. Any one of us may have been taken by despair. When I think of Kalzal, I feel no hatred. Only a stinging regret that we could not save him as well. Isn't that right, men?
And women. Yeah, there is a woman in the ranks there.
This bodes well for that boy. Narad, was it? Perhaps he can cut ties with that shady peddler.
Then let it be done. Henceforth, this initiative shall be known as the Kalzal Foundation. Nabdeen, thou art to assemble a patrol and ensure that no child in this city liveth in squalor.
And so, off they go to do their job. Meanwhile,
See to the management of our funds and make haste. Our citizens must not suffer a day more than is necessary.
yeah, they all have their own respective tasks, and away they go.
Dragon and man, side by side in pursuit of a brighter morrow. I'm reminded of Ishgard.
I'm sure Mathai would be proud. And so would Racefelger for that matter. So, for completing the quest, we'll get 1,001 gil, for whatever reason. Plus, we'll take our choice of food or elegant pieces again, but in this case, we'll help ourselves to 3 servings of Saikon Bavarois.